As of January 1st, 2010, renewing a driver's license or ID card is a different experience. Implementation of the Real ID Act means new requirements, more documents, and increased challenges for women and the elderly. However, Real ID doesn't have to be a real pain. Here to talk about the changes and how we can plan ahead is Scott Lunsford with the Escambia County Tax Collector's Office. Scott, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, there's a lot of information here. We've got 8 or 9 minutes, so we're really going to be hitting the high spots, but want to at least raise awareness and let people know how they can find out more information. Before we get into some of the details, though, give us a brief overview of what has changed.
The changes effective January 1st, Florida law started requiring each applicant for a driver's license or identification card to prove their true identity by providing original documents documenting their birth name and any legal name changes after that, their proof of Social Security number, and their residential address.
So how did these changes come about? Why, and I guess who implemented these or got this started?
Real ID is a part of the Federal Patriot Act of 2008, and it's a nationwide effort by the Department of Homeland Security to reduce threats of terrorism and enhance the security of driver license issued by state agencies.
Okay, well, as you put it in the beginning, it sounds, okay, that sounds pretty easy, but there is a lot of documentation involved. And
there are.
How is this especially challenging for the elderly and even women?
For the elderly, you have a lot of home births that were never recorded, inadequate records, states that possibly were not keeping records at the time of the birth, and it makes it difficult to obtain a original government-issued birth certificate. For ladies, they have to document name changes, and that can be troublesome, particularly for older marriages in different states. It can cause a little bit of trouble getting the records.
So then they would have to have like a marriage certificate or divorce decree, or what kind of paperwork or paper trail would they need to have?
We need, from their birth document, we would need a paper trail that tracks each name change from the time they were born to the name they're currently using. One way to avoid that is to have a passport that's valid with the current married name on it, and we could use that. Secondly, we do not have to have every specific item if there's a link somewhere along the line. So let's just say the first marriage certificate is not available, but the second certificate lists the maiden name. We could pick her up from there and move forward.
Okay, so it takes a little investigation on the part of the applicant, and then resourcefulness on folks like yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, back to the older adults, and you mentioned some of these scenarios. What do you see as the most common, and how are they overcome?
Most common that we're seeing for the older folks is lack of records. Occasionally we have a customer that just cannot place where they were born, so there's no record to locate, and in that case what we would do is ask for a waiver to get permission to issue that document to the customer without the actual birth document.
Okay. Well, let's get in. Some people may wonder, well, why is Jeff talking to someone from the tax collector's office? There's a perception that maybe we have to go to DMV in our county of residence. Obviously, that's probably not true, huh? Where can people go to get a license now?
All of our county tax collector offices in Escambia County are driving license agencies. We issue driving license by appointment from 8:30 to 5 days a week. And we're an agent for the state of Florida as a driver license issuance agent.
Okay, so, and what about, say for example, use myself as an example. I live in Santa Rosa County, but I spend the day working in Escambia County. Can I renew mine in Escambia County?
Absolutely. It's a statewide driver license, and we'll take any resident of any county.
So vice versa, it would be the same. Well, let's go back to these 3 main categories. Tell us again, what are they, and what kind of documentation might be needed to support each category?
The main categories are proof of your identity, which would be your birth document, birth certificate original issued by the state, or a valid U.S. passport. We need proof of your Social Security number, which can be your actual Social Security card, your W-2 or 1099, or a printout from the Social Security Administration that has your name and Social Security number on it. And then we need 2 proofs of your address, which can be your property tax bill, car registrations, W-2 forms, utility bills less than 60 days old. The residential address is probably the least impact of all.
Okay. Where can people find a checklist or more information so they can plan ahead well, how do you suggest someone plan ahead and gather these documents as they go along, maybe the course of the year?
There is a statewide website, gathergoget.com. You can look at the state's website by going to myflorida.com. And of course, we've got it on our tax collector website, ESCAMBIAtaxcollector.com, at the top of our splash page.
Okay. What are your suggestions for people who want to plan ahead for this?
Plan early. Go ahead and start gathering your documents. Make an appointment for your visit to our office. And we have a call center that's open 5 days a week. If you have questions, call us early so we can help you. And I think the most important thing is do not let that Florida driver license expire before you talk to us. As long as it's valid, we can keep you driving until you can get the documents.
That's great, great news. Well, you mentioned waivers briefly there, and I know they're primarily for people born between 1935. Is that correct? Or
35 and earlier.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about, say someone has an experience, they go somewhere and somebody says, well, you don't have these things, you're out of luck. What do they need to know about the possibility of a waiver? How does that process unfold?
In our offices, all of our agents are trained that when a person comes in with a challenging situation, gathering their documents, they're going to speak to a manager who's going to help them through the process. If they were born 1935 and older, usually we can have a waiver in a few minutes, approved, and get the license issued. What we attempt to do is find as many documents as we can to make certain we have the true identity of the customer. We'll use nearly any record we can. We prefer older life insurance policy, DD-214s, those kind of documents that are older, not recently produced, and then we can get the waiver approved in most cases, like I say, in just a few minutes.
Okay, so hopefully they can get all this resolved in one visit?
In one visit in most cases.
Okay. Now, do people need an appointment to do this, to come down, and especially if they're going the route to come to the office, your offices, for example?
Exactly. Our services are by appointment only. They can call our phone number 438-6500, extension 252. When you call to make the appointment, we have trained agents that are answering the telephones. They can help discuss your documents and make sure you bring the proper documents to make it a one-trip visit.
Well, that's great because it is a little confusing. Now, are people able to get some of these out-of-town documents by mail, or is this something they have to travel, say, drive 2 states over to get a birth certificate or a marriage certificate?
You can get them by mail. A lot of folks that were born in Alabama are driving over into Alabama to get them quicker. There are some internet providers that can get you a birth certificate from most any state within 2 to 3 days through the Federal Express type mail. Most of them you can write for, send a copy of your ID, tell them which record you're looking for specifically, include the funds in the letter, and they'll send it to you in a couple of days.
Great. Thank you for the information, and thank you for helping us with our article in Coming of Age magazine. I hope our viewers will want to check that out as well for more information. Thanks, Scott.